Welcome to the Solo Grind, your weekly coffee break with a fellow solo entrepreneur who's right there in it with you. I am Teresa Schloop, the original caffeine creative, and this is where real business meets real life. No hype, just honest conversations about building a business on your own terms. We talk mindset, strategy, burnout, breakthroughs, and everything in between, because going solo doesn't mean doing it alone. Grab a cup of coffee, find your favorite spot, and let's talk about what it really takes to do this thing solo. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Solo Grind. I am your host, Teresa Schloop, the original caffeine creative, a web designer who is here to help solo entrepreneurs show up genuinely, authentically, and clearly online. So if that is something that you are looking for, I invite you to reach out and connect with me. If you take a look in the show notes, you can text me or scroll down a little bit and I give you all of my best contact information. I would love to have a one-on-one screen to screen with you about what your goals are, learn more about your business, and where you want to take things as you move forward. But for today, right now, in this moment, we are here for the podcast, The Solo Grind, my little pet project that I started nearly a year ago that I love showing up for. And today we are going to talk about recapturing that creative spark. The spark that guided us to launch this crazy idea of having our own business to begin with. Now, last week, we talked about when times are slow and how that can be really, really scary, but it can also be a blessing in disguise. Because during those slow times, we have the time to be creative, to create something new, to do something we've been thinking or dreaming about. We have the time to explore new ideas, new opportunities, and get a little R&R when we need it. But what happens when that slow time hits and the creative spark is gone? Well, that is what we're going to look at and talk about today. So first of all, we're going to talk about what are some of the common causes, because I really do believe that when we understand what drains that spark, what takes that excitement away of building a business, we are better prepared to deal with the issue and to regain our spark. So we're going to talk about those common causes. We're going to take a look at some mindset shifts that you can employ to reignite that spark within you. And then we're going to take a look at some exercises, some tips, some ideas, some things that you can do that is more than mindset, but actual action in reigniting that spark without having to take a full-on break, because you want to make the most of this free time that you have. So let's go ahead and start talking about the common causes. Now, for me, one of the biggest ones that drains me in my business and gets me feeling the drudgery is excessive repetitive actions. And I'm talking about the deep dive admin work. Sometimes there's just a lot of it that needs to be done. And when we are spending so much time on the day-to-day routine, that drudgery work, the boring stuff that is very necessary in our business, but not very fun, it can definitely zap our energy and extinguish the spark. Another thing that I have found that will drain my energy is when I am really hyper focused on other people, on my clients. Now, I love taking care of my clients. I love serving them, but I cannot be the best version of myself if I only show up for everyone else. I've got to show up for me as well. And so when I'm over focused on taking care of my clients, I don't have the time to work on some of my passion projects, like the Solo Grind. I don't have time to explore new ways to reach out and connect with my audience. I don't have time to work on that brilliant idea that has been marinating in the back of my mind. So that is a big one for me as well. And honestly, sometimes just being in my office, the same old every day can be a little overwhelming. Like many of you, I work from home, But not only do I work from home, my home is in the middle of nowhere. I love my home. We have a beautiful slice of Eden. We actually live in the Eden Township outside of Hudson, South Dakota, and it is absolutely beautiful out here. We have a beautiful porch that I enjoy sitting on, reading, um, having a cocktail, hanging out with my husband. We've got a fantastic little backyard that is so pretty. It needs some work right now, but it's just a great place to relax at the end of the day or at the start of the day over coffee, and I love it. But I don't get out very often. I don't see other people all that often. There are days that will go by, sometimes even weeks, where the only other physical person that I see outside of screen to screen time with my clients is my husband, and he's fabulous, but it gets a little lonely out here. And so sometimes I feel the walls closing in, and even though I've got this beautiful place to be, I feel stuck and I need to get out. And I know I'm not alone in that. Even when we lived in a community where there were people around, I still felt a little stuck in my house sometimes. So my environment is a big common cause as to why my energy will dip and why I'm just not feeling very satisfied in my days. So maybe you have some other ones. And if you do, I would love to hear what they are. But those are kind of the most common issues I found. And even in researching this topic a little bit, this is what came up to be that made sense to me, that was the most common. And again, that is that repetitive drudgery routine where you're stuck doing admin stuff all the time, nothing that has creativity, but something that's very necessary to do. When you're overly focused on everyone else, not giving yourself any time or space to work on things that excite you, and when you just need a new environment or experience or something new to get you out of that stuck feeling of constantly being at home. So now that we know what are some of those common causes, let's take a look at some mindset shifts, because the only way I think that we get out of anything when we're stuck in life is to focus on our mindset first. The mind carries us into action, and that is where I always want to start when I feel stuck. So, the first thing I want people to do, and this isn't something I do, but I know others do, when we have that moment of being stuck, when we're in the slumps, okay, when we just can't seem to get excited and move forward, we start feeling like maybe we're a failure. We start second guessing. Did we make the right decision? Was this a good idea? Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And a lot of doubts will start coming up that translate into maybe I'm failing. Now, I do remember feeling that earlier on in my entrepreneurial career, but it's not something I do now, but I do remember how deep it was. So the good news is you definitely can shift your mindset to move away from that becoming a norm. And to do that, you just need to remind yourself that this isn't failure. Your brain just needs a little shaking up. It needs a little something new, and it needs a little excitement. Your brain needs a vacation, basically, or an exciting adventure. And that's all it needs, okay? The other thing that I want you guys to remember when this happens is that your creativity is not gone. You are not drained. You haven't given everything that you have to give. There is always more creativity out there. There's always something new to inspire us. There's always something to get those creative juices flowing again. We just have to find what it is. So your creativity's not gone. It's just tired and taking a nap because it doesn't have a spark. And the last thing that was a challenge for me, and I will admit that, was to remember that not everything you create is going to be good. Some things you create are just not going to be that good. That is where the sense of failure would come in for me, because I had this idea that I had to create nothing less of genius every time I created something, whether it was a website or my marketing or a new email campaign, whatever the case was, it had to be nothing less than genius. And so knowing that sometimes what I create is just not going to be that good, That's okay too. It is the not so good that helps us get clear on what we do want to create, what direction we do want to go. And it's really a blessing in disguise. So remember that not everything is going to be fabulous, but creating something is still getting those creative juices flowing. So, how do you reignite that creative spark? How do you get things going again? And obviously, like one of the things that came up when I was researching and looking at this is they were like, take a vacation, take a long break, and that will help renew your sense of faith in what you're creating. And that can be true. That can definitely be true, but it also can hurt me at times. Sometimes that break away from things when I'm in that stuck feeling honestly makes me feel even more stuck and makes me question things more. And makes that's when I start thinking maybe I should go back and work for somebody else. Maybe I should work outside of the home. Maybe, and all of those kind of ideas come up. So I prefer when I'm in the stuck mode rather than taking a long break. And I do believe in long breaks and I do schedule them into my year every year. Like I plan my vacations out. I've already got 2 vacations coming up in the next 6 months that I have planned specifically for this, and maybe 3. There's a third one on the horizon. But rather than taking a long break, I start looking at other ways to reignite that spark of excitement. So, one of them is simply shifting my focus to something completely outside of my normal day. That means outside of my business, outside of taking care of the home, outside of dealing with my puppies, kitties, whatever the case is. I look for something else to excite me. This could be a random topic that I just research and read about. I love doing research and I love reading about new ideas, new topics, new concepts, new things like that. I'm not a book reader, but I love to learn new things. And so that is something. Or even just trying a small little project that is completely outside of the norm. So my day to day is in front of a screen, it is creating something digitally. I look for outlets that are outside of the digital world. So, what are some creative projects that you could do, that you could look for, that you could explore? That is outside of it. What is something that interests you that you've wanted to try? It doesn't have to be great. Maybe you want to do a Pinterest project in your hallway and make it look a certain way. Or maybe you want to try writing some poetry or something like that. Maybe you want to take a walk or go for a hike and do some photography. I will often use my creative outlets in the kitchen. I love to cook and I am always trying to create something new, like creating something new in the realm of desserts, like the Swiss macaroons. I know I've talked about them on this podcast before. They are so much fun, and I love doing them, and I love doing different characters and shapes and 3D macaroons and all of those things. This weekend, I'm going to make a banana pudding cheesecake. Like, how amazing does that sound? So, that is how I get out and find something creative, or I get out in nature and take a walk. What are some creative outlets that you could do that is completely outside of the norm? Because me making dessert, honestly, it's just me and my husband, and he doesn't eat dessert. So every time I go and make desserts, this creative outlet, it's not something that we need in our house or that my husband even wants because he's not going to eat it. I have to find people to eat my desserts. But it's still something that engages my mind in a new way. It takes my brain on a little vacation and it helps me reignite that creativity within inside of me that once fueled my business, and then I'm able to bring that back into the workplace. So think about some things that you could do and try them. It doesn't have to be long. You could take 15 minutes exploring a new topic, or carve out an afternoon where you do something different, something fun, try a project. You get to decide what it is. These are micro spurt inspiration moments. They're not something that has to be a long break. The other thing that I will often do is I change my work environment. Now, this could come about in multiple ways. The first thing that I do when I'm really feeling stuck and really feeling that slump is I clean my office. I clean off my desk, I reorganize things, I dust, I do all the things. I will clean my office. Even just taking a half hour to tidy my office can shift things in a really big and powerful way. So, that is definitely one way to shift and change your environment. You could also look at getting something new to bring in. Maybe you bring in a new plant or a new candle or something like that. I have plants and candles to make me happy. I also have like rocks and crystals because I just love rocks and crystals. I'll get something new like that to bring it in. A new notebook. Weirdly enough, I still have my notebooks I write in every day. They're how I plan out everything. And I love getting fun, pretty notebooks. That can make a big difference too. When those don't help me, when that's just not enough, or it's just a band aid fix, I will then take myself out of the office to work. I'll grab my laptop and I will go to one of my favorite coffee shops or one of the favorite cocktail bars that I like to go to on occasion and get something a little extra special for myself, a cappuccino, whatever the case is. I will then take that and work outside of the office for an afternoon or a morning or whatever the case is. Changing that is so powerful. And it's incredible because not only does that creativity start to come back, I start getting excited about what's coming back. And then I realize that I don't want to do it on my laptop and I need to go back to my office where I have all of my good tools available. And then when I come back, I'm ready to work. So that's another way that you can reignite that spark. The other thing that I would encourage you to look at is reverse the constraints that you put in your work day. Okay. Now, some of us, we have too many rules put into place, and maybe we need to just lighten up a little bit and be a little less rigid with our work times, our batch work, our scheduling, or whatever the case. Whereas other times we fall into the too much free flow, too much free time, and we maybe need a little bit more constraint, a little bit more scheduling to stay focused. Whichever side of the camp you are on, and for me, this shifts back and forth. Sometimes I am really hyper focused and very organized and very strict with my time. And other times I'm just like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. So it flows back and forth for me. But whichever side you're in, shift it. Reverse the constraints. If you're being too rigid and scheduled, then force yourself to take a 10-minute break and do something silly and fun. Crank up the music, dance with your dogs, take a walk, whatever you need. But force yourself to step out of that schedule and relax a little bit. If you're just a little bit too relaxed or a little bit too focused, then I say give yourself some structure. For me, I notice that I tend to get way too relaxed in my workday if I don't dress a certain way. So I make sure that I dress myself for work. I will go and put makeup on, which I'm at home by myself and I don't tend to wear makeup every day, but I'll go put makeup on just to shift the energy in my mind and get me focused on work in the moment. You get to decide what that looks like for you. It's just a matter of taking the time to reverse that structure so that you start feeling things from a little bit different perspective. And the last idea I had to help you reignite that spark is to follow your curiosity into the new trends in your industry. Sometimes we get so focused on what we do best that we're not looking at what is new and happening in our world. And so, why not allow your curiosity to wander? Take a break, step outside of the office, grab your phone, and see what is new in the world of you. Allow your curiosity to flow into something new and different and see what those trends are. This doesn't mean you have to embrace the trends that are out there, and it doesn't mean that you have to follow them. It just allows your brain to be curious, to question, to think about, to say, would I like that? Would I not like that? And it's that moment of questioning, that moment of curiosity that helped ignite the spark that you had to build this business to begin with. It all started with what if. So go ahead, explore what if. That is what's going to help shift you out of this crazy mindset. All right, my friends, that is it for this week. I hope that you have found a few ways to help recapture your spark and your creativity in your workplace, that you are feeling inspired and ready to channel your energy into something really incredible that is going to help move the business forward in some amazing way, whether it by recharging you or actually creating something new that you can bring into your business. I hope that you find something. And with that, I am going to say goodbye for today. I do hope you come back next week. I have got an incredible guest joining me, Megan Dolly, the virtual CFO. She is incredible, and she is all about helping you embrace your numbers in the most intimate, positive way. And I can tell you guys this right now. Meeting Megan years ago was one of the best things for my business. She shifted the entire way that I look at my business, and I think she can help you to embrace your money in the best possible way. So please tune in next week. I cannot wait for that episode. And until we see each other again, have a wonderful, fabulous week ahead. Thanks for tuning in to the Solo Grind. I hope this episode brought you some inspiration and encouragement. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, and feel free to share it with a friend. For more tips and insights, visit caffeinecreative.io to check out my blog or explore the Solo Grind Central, my free resource library. Find me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'd love to hear how this episode has helped you.